Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. That was all 50 on the state.
Please.
What's up, Gloucester Township? I am Joe Allen here with Keith Gibbons, and you are watching and listening to the #1 podcast in Gloucester Township. We are the Restore GT podcast, available on restoregt.com, Gloucester Town at GLOTWP on YouTube, Restore Gloucester Township on Facebook, at Restore GT on Twitter, and folks,
that
while
was
you're
a
at
mouthful.
It's a lot. We are everywhere. Folks, right now, hit the subscribe button before we go any further. Hit the notification bell so you get updates on when the next content is coming out. We're a little bit late on this one.
Yeah, we had some holidays in there with Thanksgiving and elections happened and a couple other things that held us up a little bit.
Sick with something that wasn't COVID this time, so it was action-packed weeks for us here.
Yes, it was.
So it's been a while. The November 14th was our council meeting, our last council meeting that we wanted to cover.
And it went long. It was a long one.
It was one of the first. It was one of the first ones I just left. I was hungry, and I was like, I'm just going to do a bunch of the guys meet up at Skeeter's afterwards and kind of talk about the meetings afterwards. And I'm like, I'm just going to Skeeter's. I'm hungry, man.
I can't take this.
I've had enough. I've listened to enough.
Yeah.
And so this meeting was there wasn't. And the thing was, there wasn't a lot that was really talked about at this meeting, other than like two main topics.
So there's certain things where it's limited as to how much you can speak. So there was a topic that was brought up, or two, I believe, right? That there was just a long time where everyone was allowed to completely speak their piece, not limited to just 3 or 5 minutes. And this had to do with a $4 million unforeseen medical expenses that we need to now borrow money for. So it was brought up by a few different people of how did we not see that we're $4 million off when we just approved the budget at the end of May, beginning of June. So
and we
halfway through the year, we were $4 million off from what we were expecting.
We couldn't get a whole lot. I mean, there's HIPAA guidelines that are kind of stopping us from really knowing everything that's going on.
Right.
But apparently, the last year,
and the way medical billing, it was explained too, and it makes sense. The way medical billing happens is this, whatever the expenses were, could have happened months ago, and they just got around to actually hitting hey, here's your bill from that thing that happened 4 months ago. So there's some understanding that has to be, assumed around that. But it's how we are dealing with, if you had an unexpected expense at home, what would you do? Would you build pickleball courts a week later? Or would you maybe figure out how to cut some expenses and
maybe cut some expenses, maybe
use the money you had saved up for that, vacation or something going on. Maybe have to use that money, instead of borrowing more money. And that was kind of the theme of a lot of residents' questions around why are we borrowing $4 million.
And I think some of what people were thinking too was, how did we not see this coming? Like, was it that much of a surprise? I can't imagine one single person got sick to the tune of like $4 million. So I feel like it seems like maybe a little bit more than that.
Well,
and
either way, when questioned, as always, the response is not, the questions were not actually answered. They were answered as a little bit differently than were asked. So when it's asked, should we have seen this? No, we didn't see this. We were paying attention to it from this point on Well, that wasn't the question. The question had to do with, could we have seen this if someone were paying attention along those lines? But yeah, we have a couple clips here of some.
Yeah, so first clip goes into like, hey, should we have seen this?
Our budget, the 2022 budget wasn't adopted till May or June. I think it was June, actually. Was this kind of overspending in the medical expenses? Was that already on a trajectory of we knew we were going to overspend? It must have been. If we were over $4 million.
We became concerned after the budget was adopted.
No, it wasn't adopted till June.
I understand.
Wasn't this?
I don't know the date that it was adopted. What I'm saying to
wasn't
you,
this issue identified
no,
sometime?
Did not realize that we had this problem when we adopted the budget.
Should we have? I mean,
$4 million. I don't believe so. No, we've closely followed it since I would say probably sometime the beginning of July.
We closely followed it since the beginning of July. Was okay? That wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. They closely followed it, but they didn't pay attention. It's like the house is on fire, but you don't make the phone call. I don't know. So that was So that was one of the first questions that came up was, should we have seen this? And then when you start thinking about, well, all right, we owe $4 million now because of this, or we potentially will owe $4 million. So what we did was...
And to back up a little bit to help explain, if somebody at home has insurance, your insurance is set no matter what happens to you, right? The way that our township works is we're self-funded, so that if we pay somebody to process our claims for us, and then we pay the bill. And that does help, over an extended period of time, save a tremendous amount of money, where that insurance companies work off of basically assuming that you're going to be healthy or not require things, but you're charged for it anyway, kind of thing. So the way that we operate as a township is it's self-insured. In the case of you have a scenario like this where medical bills come in that you weren't expecting to come in like this, you're responsible for them. And that's kind of where we're at and how we're at this $4 million budget. So I guess it's important to kind of help people explain at home that a self-insured town is basically what we are.
Yeah, which probably wasn't, it's a decent idea to save money so that we're not paying a third party to do it. But this happens,
right? And
this is, like I said, it's hard to believe. It's not hard to believe, but it's hard to imagine the $4 million.
Well, it might be hard to imagine because we don't actually see the bills when we get bills for a procedure. If I don't know what it is now, but I remember when my daughter was born and I saw the hospital bill at that time. It was like $70-some thousand to have a baby. I had no idea that's how much it cost. What did it cost me? It cost me nothing more than what I already paid for my premium at the time, because the insurance gets that bill. So procedures are expensive, medication's expensive, prescriptions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we don't know what those costs are. We're not, in general, familiar with the costs associated with.
And I believe they did say that some of these costs that were accrued, but a lot of them were prescription costs. Yeah. So. I think they said I guess maybe one individual or one particular prescription that somebody needs, it's like $17,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's it's unfortunate, but it's now we've got to figure out where we're going to get $4 million to pay for this. And right. One of the biggest things to stand out is, well, we have $3.4 million from COVID money.
Yeah, so if you go back to when the actual budget happened, we had close to $7 million in COVID relief money. So that's taxpayer money that was given back to the taxpayers as a relief. The administration now said this past budget, we're only going to use half of that. And if you've followed along in Gloucester Township politics at all, you've heard before about the every other year, your taxes don't go up. Well, this money was being banked away for an election year, which is what the reasoning behind not using the full amount this past year, which caused an increase of our taxes. So now we have $3.4 million that was not used in the current budget. So the current budget is what is being required to make up this $4 million shortfall that we have. So it's been said by the administration that we cannot use that relief money because it's not in our current budget. But if you follow along with everything that's said, it's also stated that we're actually not going to take care of this $4 million until next year because of the timing of the year that it is, that it's a bad time to borrow money. So we're going to push it off to next year, which that in turn means that the $3.4 million that we already have in COVID relief money could technically be used. But what happens every other year?
Election year.
Here we go.
You don't raise taxes in an election year. So
we have a couple other clips of some.
Let's. So Pete had the same thing in mind. Mr. Pete Heinball had the same thing in mind when he asked his question. So here's Pete's question.
Again, we have the COVID relief money right around this $3.5 million roughly, exactly to cover things that unexpected because of the COVID situation. I mean, it's a good fit for this, and it eliminates the need to incur debt for current expenses, which we should avoid. We should work hard to avoid. Explain again why we're choosing not to use COVID relief funds to pay these expenses.
I'm anticipating using that in next year's budget.
Well, that's not an answer. We need it for
Pete, I gave you
a
an answer.
$4 million debt.
You don't like my answer.
No, for
but that's
$4
my
million
response-
debt, we need a
but
better
that's my
answer.
response to
Well, that's not like, it's whether I like it or
Next
dislike it.
week,
It's not really an
Pete, we're not
answer.
gonna do this like we did last time. Thank you very much.
I'll re-ask the question, because we should get a better answer than.
Pete, there
I
are
don't
people that are
want to.
waiting to speak behind you. You can come back up again.
Will you-
Shut up
will you
and
answer
sit
the
down,
question
Pete.
better Next time I ask?
I think I answered it. Thank you.
So we're going to use it next year. I mean, it doesn't get any more blatant than we need to hold this money for an election year because your memory is so short that you're going to forget the tax increase from 2020.
Yeah, so for current expenses, we're going to borrow money for current expenses, which is what this is. It's a current medical expense. We should be cutting money from other areas, not spending other money. But no, instead we're going to just borrow it, put it on the credit card. We'll get it later.
Yeah, this is...
We'll pay it over 7 years, 5 years, whatever it comes to.
Yes, it's... But what I took it out of that was when they right away say, no, we anticipate using that money next year.
Right.
And it's so blatantly obvious. Look, if you forgot that your taxes went up in 2022, well, then you're probably part of the problem because they know in 2023 you're going to forget that it happened in 2022 and you're going to reelect them again. So unless we break that cycle, but that's the cycle
guess
that
what?
we're
Your
on.
taxes won't go up next year. We have
they're
almost a decade of this history, this
they're
pattern.
going to do the world's most amazing accounting next year so that your taxes don't go up. And then in 2024, when there's no elections, your taxes are going to go up again. And then in 2025, the mayor's going to be up for re-election again.
Joe, don't
taxes.
forget, though, everyone that's running for re-election somehow voted no on the last tax increase as well, except for the one person who didn't live in the township that we found out that moved but was still on council until it was brought up.
Yeah,
whoever's running next year could also say, I also voted to not raise your taxes last year. I'm so good this year, you should re-elect me. And I also voted against raising your taxes last year.
So, yeah, and to add to it, I mean, there's, somebody else said, well, hey, we've got the money right now. Let's use it.
This gave him a great source.
Great. Yeah.
Great mind.
The intro into this. Look, you learned a lot about the...
I learned, all 50 states.
All 50 states. And unless you missed one, I'm not really sure. But same question here, too.
Ask why you don't use the money that you already have right now.
My answer? Ms. Smith and I are going to have the same response I gave Mr. Heinball. Yes, Mr. Cardis.
So, you cannot do
Mechanically.
what Mr. Heinball is suggesting and what you're suggesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, CFO. You can't, once you have the budget created and it's done and it's adopted, tax bills go in. So it's based on that levy that was in that budget. You cannot just add $3.4 million because you're going to go over. They don't allow that.
Yeah.
You know,
Not to
it's
add
not-
it, they're
it's
saying
not
that
permitted.
the funds are already,
We can't take the money we can't take that 3.4 million and then just squeeze it into this current year's budget.
No.
So, all right. So we get that. I mean, a lot of us not familiar with municipal accounting, but so then the thought would be, well, how long is it before we have to pay for that money?
Right.
And then
Well, that's what it is. It's basically calling all of us dummies in the way that we're answering the questions because you don't understand the way that this works and this, that, and the other. And here.
Yeah. So
play the next clip when the question's actually asked.
You stated that you were looking at possibly pushing this off until next year because it's the most expensive time to borrow is around the Christmas time.
I did say that, yes.
Okay, so if you push it off to next year, then you could use the COVID funds and it wouldn't affect the budget, which you said.
I'm not going to consider the COVID funds there.
But could you, my question was, could you do, that would bypass what you said. If you push this off to next year, you're going to have, the COVID money would be available. I understand you're saying you're not going to use it, which I don't like that answer either. I don't understand why, but it is what it is. But you could do that.
That's what they say, but they're not.
So, all right. So we're not going to take the money this year to pay for that. We're going to wait until next year because borrowing in December is apparently it's not a good idea. So,
Right. So, and he admitted, yes, that's what I said. So, in that same statement, he's at the bottom line of it is it doesn't need to be paid this year. It's going into next year because we're not actually even going to borrow it until next year, which December 31st rolls around, goes into January 1, is what Sam's saying on here. Now you could use the money you already have and you don't need to borrow it. So why are we borrowing it? The money is there for situations like this, for helping relieve the taxpayers of this burden that we have to deal with.
So I mean, if you got lost during this whole thing, was what they said was you can't use the COVID money to cover the budget for this year,
Right?
Because this year is already
we didn't plan to use it for this year, but in the same breath, they're saying, well, "Good,
yeah." So we've already allocated the money for 2022. We cannot take the COVID money and then jam it into whatever expenses we have in 2022.
right."
They said this will have to be, the COVID money, that's for 23. We're going to use that on the 23. But then at the same time, they said this money for the medical, we can't borrow that right now. So we have to borrow that next year.
Right. It's a bad time to borrow it this year. We're going to borrow it next year.
So then the thought was,
So both things are true.
why not use that COVID money then for next year? If we're going to borrow the money next year for the medical expenses, why not use the money for next year for medical expenses? So that was, that's the biggest takeaway is
It's mind-blowing how stupid they think that people are, or talk to us as if we're stupid. I don't know.
It's because not a lot of people want to sit through.
Nobody
these
wants to pay
meetings.
attention.
Nobody wants to sit through these meetings. Nobody wants to do all this research. It's just they get away with it because nobody's paying attention, and you don't have to be. Look, you just there's like 12 people basically that know what's going on, and the rest of the people are just kind of like, that's a mess over there, or they're happy with it, one of the two.
Right.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot. I don't have a whole lot to suggest on that, other than, man, I don't know. Get involved. Somebody's
Just,
wasting,
I mean,
they're
like,
wasting your money.
yeah.
They're borrowing money they don't need to borrow, and they're spending. You mentioned pickleball courts too, and it's funny. I read the pickleball court thing today, and it's about $500,000 for pickleball courts. And I looked at it and I thought, first, I don't really know a whole lot about pickleball. And then,
But we need it for sure.
well, yeah, and I was like, I don't know. I heard some people saying they like pickleball now, and I read it, and then I got in the car, and then I had to drive to Lowe's to go pick up some Christmas lights because it's that time of year, and I was driving, and it was like I was going down Ariel New Brooklyn Road, and it was like what I imagine the Oregon Trail in a stage.
Right, with wooden wheels.
Just driving and just
wooden
wooden
wheels,
wheels, no suspension.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, thank God we have pickleball courts.
Yeah.
My car's falling apart. It's brand new. It's like a year old, but it's falling apart now because of the Jersey roads. But we're gonna have pickleball courts.
Yeah.
And it's like that friend, that has like a lot of really cool stuff, but he's also really, really in debt.
Yeah.
And you're like, bro, you should probably, I don't know,
not buy that.
pay some bills, maybe, I don't know, maybe you got a hole in your roof.
Yeah.
Maybe take care of that first, other than putting the swimming pool in. I don't know. It's Gloucester Township, man.
That is Gloucester Township.
Driving down a road, and I don't know. Maybe that's a county road, but maybe our representatives could go to the county and go, look, you just cut that road up to put something in, and then you left us with this. No way. Get back here and pave that. I don't know, man. It's stuff like that drives me. It's like I feel like we need to. I feel like I make. My backyard. Mm-hmm. My basement's not finished. My backyard doesn't have a swimming pool. All stuff that I could probably go right out right now and borrow money for.
Yeah, absolutely.
But doing some house repairs, maybe I don't know, putting some floor in where my floor is kind of crappy. Adult decisions.
Right.
I want the people in office to make the same adult decisions that I have to make with my money also, because a lot of my money goes to them.
Well, you have less money in your pocket to do your repairs because you're footing the bill of the township to
to blatantly just spend it on pickleball courts and
BMX parks.
That
was a proposed of what, $600,000.
And you can talk about parks too. Like when my team ran last year, there were certain individuals out there that were going, well, we better use the parks up now because, like, the Restore GT guys.
Oh, they're going to rip them out.
They're going to take all the parks away. And I'm like, you know what, man?
Pave them over.
I love the parks here, but I think we need to make the adult decisions first.
Yeah.
And maybe fix some roads and maybe take care of some stuff that needs maintenance before we go and we add $500,000 pickleball courts. So I'm glad you brought up pickleball courts because that was something I read earlier and I was a little bit perturbed by, but But
you're right. We don't make those decisions very well in this town. It seems
we don't. It seems like we make decisions that they either make people happy.
Well, we make a lot of decisions, in my opinion, that of who the money is being paid to, whether it's a contractor or an insurance company or whatever. And the next clip that we have kind of outlines some of that as well. There's a talk now because of this $4 million overage that, hey, now that we're in this situation, we're not going to fire whatever employee it is that's now causing this whole thing. But we might want to think about actually getting an insurance plan because I don't think this is going away anytime soon. That's probably all assumptions because of, like HIPAA laws like you had mentioned. But it's probably wise at this juncture to not self-insure. So what we're going to do is ask an insurance broker to come up with different plans for us. And different brokers write different plans and have different carriers and, things like that they represent. So bid is put out to the town. When there's a certain amount of money that's being spent in a town, they're required to put it out, for bid. So, the next question here was asked around how did we select this insurance, broker? What were the qualifications? And the answer basically comes back as what it's not an answer, but go ahead.
Check it out.
Bids received for Brown & Brown and Connor Strong Buccaloo. You chose Connor Strong Buccaloo, Buckaloo, but there's nothing here like to give us any indication as to why. What do you base that on? Is it commissions, or, I mean, how do you determine, what information do they send you for you to be able to pick one of the two?
They send a proposal, and each one submits a proposal. I review it with Dave Carlman and Christieri, and we make a determination of who we would recommend to the governing body. In this particular case, one of the reasons that I'm recommending Connor Strong is that we're right now presently working on projects together that we're trying to bring to fruition. The other is that the other firm, Brown and Brown, is from up near New York City. And I don't believe that they're going to have the same familiarity with the providers that are in that work in our area right now.
Oh, pause.
So there you go. So there's a little pause. We can pause that right there. So Brown and Brown has an office in Mount Laurel. So
Mount Laurel, is that North Jersey? I think Mount Laurel is actually a little bit south of us.
they've never been down here in South Jersey before.
Yeah, they've never been down here. They have no idea what's going on around here. They found the RFP, right? But they're not from around here.
Yeah, and so Brown and Brown is a let's go into. So
who was selected first?
Well,
here?
so Connor Strong and Buckaloo was chosen, and if we look at why, or our theory on why,
say no
now
more.
if you've caught our video a couple weeks ago on political machines, and we talk about people that are at the top of the machine. You've got George Norcross, you've got Donald Norcross, even Philip Norcross. So the whole Norcross family, everything seems to go back to there. So when a firm like Connor and Strong and Buckaloo are chosen, now you know why. So you've got that there, and then so the best part too about it is,
well, even when you go back to our current situation of now borrowing money, anytime that the township borrows money, we're borrowing it from Parker McKay.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Parker McKay.
If you're paying attention,
whoa.
And if you've so there's, man, it's
a reoccurring. It's got to be a coincidence, Joe. There's no way.
It's definitely not a coincidence.
Oh no.
So no.
Okay. If you say so.
I sat through this meeting, and I heard all these names, and I knew all these names ahead of time, and then my thought was, and I think I texted a bunch of people on this thing, and I thought, folks, the only way that we're gonna fix this is to just leave it all behind.
Yeah.
Because it's
a
so
big machine.
But, and look, you folks probably don't know. You probably didn't know these connections before. You know these connections now. These are connections that we've known now for years. And it seems disgusting, but they're going to tell you they're just the best companies to do business with. It doesn't, who
they
cares?
replied to the
related.
RFP. We're already working with them on another project, so that's that's to come to fruition. I know you are. I know you're working with them. That's the problem.
You're working with them on every project. Yeah. So
anything that comes up somehow. But all right,
it's
we have another clip to play on this topic here.
On this one, there's well, we could probably play the. Yeah, let's go with this one here.
The more we talk about this, the more questions come up, and the less answers we're getting.
No, we were talking to them in August.
Okay, so why wasn't this brought up in August? We're borrowing $4 million. Oh, it's November. Let's borrow $4 million.
You stop the baby from being born. You stop the claim. What do you do? How do you stop it? It's a runaway train. It's going to go where it wants to go. This was a bad year. Multiple cases.
I'm not denying that it was a bad year. I'm just saying I don't understand how Mr. Krug says. I don't understand how Mr. Krug says it's $1 million a month. You guys sit here and say yes, And then I ask a question on what the number is over, and she says 1.4 to 1.6. At that point, she should have said, no, Mr. Krug, it's not $1 million a month. It's $300,000 a month, but we're on pace for this. Why do we have to like drag these answers out? It's like I'm talking to my 10-year-old and trying to figure out who broke the lamp. And I have to drag everything out of them. Yes, really. Okay, because no offense, Mr. Curtis, you have lied to us in the past.
All right.
Proven.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sweet.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of talk about money there, and in the beginning, it was brought up that we were at a spending part now for this medical that was going to be $1 million a month. So immediately I'm thinking, well, wow, that's $12 million over next year that we're going to be over. And then they said, no, it's not quite like that. It's probably like we're not at $4 million right now. We're probably at like 1.6 million.
Well, they're saying, yeah, we have to. We're approving to borrow up to $4 million. Not that we are going to order or borrow $4 million, but we're approving up to borrowing up to that point. But like Sam said, like you're saying, that should have been when it was brought up earlier that it was going to be $1 million a month. Someone should have corrected that. They weren't. They just let it go. Because I guess the less you say, the better. I don't know. But, you know, like Sam said, he's trying to drag out everyone that's asking questions is trying to drag answers out. Like, who broke the lamp? And then he sat up there and said, oh, yeah, like, you know, you've lied in the past. No offense. He has. We'll show lies of his in this exact podcast if you want to sit here. We just already did.
We talked about Brown and Brown is in Mount Laurel, and we said they're from New Jersey. They probably don't know the area down here.
Yeah.
So
you literally, 5 minutes ago just lied.
And then, you know, the last meeting before this one, we were like $3 million in the hole, and we were like potentially by the end of the year we could be $4 million in the hole. But now, we heard somewhere throughout this meeting it's probably like 1.6 right now.
Right.
But they're thinking with the bills that haven't been for the
shown
service
up yet,
that's been done,
Yeah.
and the bills haven't come out yet, we could be $4 million in. So they also said we could probably might just need to borrow $3.2 million, but we put it out there for $4 million. And look, we've seen the budgeting and we've seen the accounting here, and we know that if it costs $3.2 million, we're still going to borrow $4 million.
Right.
We're still going to borrow $4 million, and then we're probably going to take that leftover money and we'll just
bank it in surplus.
We're going to move it somewhere else right now for a little bit, and then you know what? It's a good transition into talk about moving money too, because
yeah. So you know when they come up with a budget. Again, this year's budget, it was halfway through the year. So you're only forecasting 6 months, not 12 months. You have an actual 6 months worth of bills here. And we were told several items of what the reason that our taxes had to go up this year. One of those was trash pickup. So a resident asked about money that's being moved now out of the trash pickup and put into another area. And when questioned, as if that were the only item. So you'll see in the clip here. It's just
trash pickup
the gaslighting is just
trash pickup was such an amazing thing last year because it was like we basically we found out last year our premium services, unlike Cherry Hill, Washington Township, where our trash gets picked up.
Yeah, our trash gets
and
picked
it's expensive.
Up.
It's really expensive. Mm-hmm. And let's check this one out here.
Yeah.
Okay, so included in this is trash pickup.
Correct.
Okay, so
Am I correct?
Am I correct?
I guess one of my main questions is when you decided to raise taxes, you were told us it was because you had to pay more for trash pickup. But now we're finding $334,000 to move from trash pickup to someplace else.
No, I'm sure that was one of many contributing factors to the tax increase in the budget, and not just the sole one.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, $334,000 is a lot of money
So
to be able to move after you told us you had to raise taxes because we didn't have enough money.
$73 million budget.
He had to get that out. 7 times he tried to say, so is the $70 million budget.
Whoops. It's $330 million.
Yeah.
Just it's more than I paid for my house.
No, it's $330,000, but
Huh?
$330,000, not $330 million. You
Oh,
said million.
yeah, million. I didn't pay. I didn't pay near that for my house. 330,000.
Yeah.
It's but
we're still. I'm sure there's still a good cushion in there.
We over borrow.
Right.
And
we over
then
budget, over borrow.
after we do that, we move it. We move it somewhere else, and then we use that for other things,
Yep.
like pickleball courts. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that was, but that started a new discussion now
Yeah.
about trash
Trash.
pickup, and
People in Gloucester Township love the topic of trash pickups. This is
We
going
love-
to be probably one of our top
God,
viewed.
trash is picked up 10 minutes late. It is all over Facebook.
Yep.
And look, I just drag my stuff out there, and when if I look out the window and the little flaps down and the lid's closed, I leave it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the end of the day and I look out there and the little flaps closed, okay, guess I ain't coming today. I'll leave it out there. They'll get it tomorrow.
Yep. But you know what? The
Everybody-
township also knows how hot of a button trash is to Gloucester Township and on Facebook, because the political commercials that we run at come election time have to do with what? Trash.
Yeah, man. You know what?
And recycling.
There was-
it's a big topic.
There was a commercial last year, and this was this is right in the mix of election time, and this was like, look, it's expensive to run a campaign, it's expensive to put commercials out there, but if you can just find a way to get your face when you're up for re-election on the TV, maybe it's trash.
Hey, the township's going to pay for it because we need to promote recycling. We need to run the same ad that we ran years ago when we started up the program of these big, what are they, 92-gallon, trash cans. Let's run that ad again. It's a very important topic.
Run the ad. Let's talk
at election
about
time. We're going to do it. The taxpayers will pay for it.
and let's brag about
It saves us money. Let's
how
tell everyone it
good
saves us
we're
money.
doing. We're doing so good, saving you money.
Hold on.
Hi, I'm Mayor Dave Mayer.
hurt my arm
After
patting
a
my own
tough year,
back.
I'm excited that things are getting back to normal. Now it's time to get back to what we were doing best before the pandemic. That includes Gloucester Township's single-stream
That's what we were doing
recycling.
best.
By working together and participating in the program, you've helped save the township money and help the environment. So let's get back to recycling everything we can.
Let me say this.
Save the township money.
It also covers the recyclables, and the recyclables right now, at this point in time, they're charging $110 per ton. We pay about $63 or $64 a ton for trash. So it's more expensive for us to get rid of recyclables right now than it is to get rid of trash.
Let's get back to
That's
doing what we're
crazy.
doing best, wasting money.
Yeah, let's get that. Exactly right.
Well, we're not wasting money, but we're not saving money.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
not saving money. We're going to put that in the commercial now
recycling-
as if we saved you money.
that's it. Like, all right, recycling. It's good.
I'm going to vote for that guy. That guy saved us
good.
money.
You know what? I'm okay with spending a little bit more money so that we're not throwing away garbage, but don't throw a commercial out there at during election time to get your face on my TV and tell me you're saving me money.
A flat out lie.
Don't tell me you're saving me money. That is that was pretty gross. And when it came out last year, before I even knew anything about the cost of what it was cost to take out the trash and to recycle it, I just thought that's a convenient time to run an ad for recycling now during an election season when you need to get your face back out there on there. Sure.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. Called it back then and said all these election commercials seems like you use the taxpayer money just to get your face on the screen.
Could be said.
And all for money savings that didn't happen. So that is that pretty much sums up your council meeting.
Yeah, it was like we said, it was a long one, but I think we did a fairly good job covering the gist of everything that was there.
Yeah, considering it was quite a while ago now. It was a long time ago that council meeting was, And the fact that I left early too, just because I was hungry. But I mean, I just some people just that was a council meeting. Well, we led with a video that kind of gave you the tone of the council meeting, and I just figured I'm going to get something to eat. I will. I'll catch this on the replay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we did have this past week. There was a planning board meeting that was held where there was an update, finalization, I guess, if you will, to the Brittany Woods project that we have discussed several times on the podcast. It was the same project that led council women to accuse myself and Dina Hendry of, basically being racist because we were questioning anything in that project. But yeah, so that was finalized, basically voted yes to pass on November 22nd, which basically gave the developer, who we learn does not actually own the 29 units that are separated from the owner-occupied units of Brittany Woods. They don't actually own it. They were looking to get this approval before making the actual purchase, and in order to make that purchase, they wanted to be sure that they're able to secure particular financing. That financing is only available to them if they were to put in a playground, which they have now a tot lot or something like that.
Okay.
It's going to have one little, like, you ever go to like McDonald's when you were a kid and they had like the one little horse with like a spring on it.
Yeah.
So they're going to have that.
Okay.
That's going to be their playground. And then they're going to put in a community center. I don't know if the little spring thing, that was just a joke, but it's just one little small piece of equipment is what they, we're saying at the meeting. It's not a big, huge playground, because there were people that were from Brittany Woods that were saying, we just fought for 4 years to get this playground put in, and now you're just going to approve this other, playground here. But then there's also going to be it was argued as a commercial building, because it's going to be a maintenance building / community center, but it's only for the people that are in the 29 rental units, which are going to be all low income housing. But because this unit was back when they were asking to separate this out and make it its own community, we knew that had to do with financing, it had to do with, money. So now this unit is not inclusive, like our master plan, outlines that we are trying to do as our goal, as one of our goals. It's not inclusive anymore. It's its own thing. It now has to have its own sign. It's going to have its own subdivision, basically, of Brittany Woods. It's going to have its own community center that no one else is allowed to use. It's going to have its own playground, and that's all has to do with financing. We went through the the voting ranks, and everyone unanimously voted yes. We are allowing that. So, there were people that were at the meeting that were highly ticked off that now across the street from they're going to have a community center with people. They were saying that this place is going to be for people to have birthday parties and other things. They're saying there's going to be traffic. It's right outside my front door. It was
and these are the people that live in Brittany Woods.
Right. These people live in Brittany Woods that are complaining about basically them approving a commercial building being built right across the street from them when it's not zoned for that. I mean, how many times have we had this conversation about zoning and different things? And it's like, well, it's not technically a commercial building in this aspect. And that's, from what I feel like anyways, part of what they really needed to get approved here is that, hey, can we put a community center in this residential area here, because we need that to get this, financing, basically, to be able to move forward with that. That being said, they are going to be rehabbing these units, and it is to be argued that this is good for the neighborhood, that they're going to be updating it. It's going to look beautiful after they're done. They're eliminating some of the unsightly trash cans that are left out front because of the design of the house. So currently, the front door to the apartments is where the kitchen area is. But the trash, where they're required right now to have the trash, is in the back of the house. So if you live in these, you need to, either keep your trash can out front, which becomes unsightly, or you have to drag trash through your house to the backyard. So not a very good design planning when it was initially built. But right now, here we are. We're gonna now allow the the roof awnings to go out, to have some screening so trash can be out in front of somebody's house, but not out in plain view.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they're doing a little bit of development, things like that, which are great. But again, it's just, why did that need to be hidden? Why do, to Sam's question earlier, why are we dragging out questions and answers? Like, why? What is wrong with transparency? Why can't you just say that we need this to happen for financing? If we don't get the financing, that won't happen. The end result is good enough to justify, well, okay, this is why we're doing it, right? Like, if your argument at the end is, why you don't want, people to have nicer homes or nicer, places to live? No, we didn't say that at all. We're just asking why. Like, why can't you just say the actual answer? It's because of all these things here. Why is everybody so afraid to be transparent?
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear that people from that development were out with concerns and complaints.
Now, there was a couple of them that were pretty outraged.
When just regular people just asked, and nobody had any concerns about what was actually being done there before, because the rest of us that don't live there, we just had questions about the transparency of it.
Right. Why is the town getting involved in this project? Without the town involved, there's nothing stopping that person that's buying this piece of land from the owner and doing exactly what they're going to do. Why does the town need to be involved in it? We're like, okay, we're going to go apply for permits for whatever else we're doing, and just do it. But no, instead it's brought in front of council. The initial time was literally slid in at the last second. No one had any chance to even review what the heck's going on. So right off the bat, everyone's like, what is going on here? And it just kept going and going and going, and it's just not being transparent leads to questions. And at the end of the day, who cares? The end result is fine enough. Just say it. Why are we hide everything? I don't understand. It's insane.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah. To your point, I don't know why the township was involved at all. Really.
Well, it's because they needed to approve that community center, and they needed that community center in order to be able to get that financing. Just say it. Right?
Yeah, and then I guess there was talk of the affordable housing money, whether it was going to be eligible for that, whether they're going to use that or not. Nobody would ever answer those questions, and it was just like these questions. Some stuff is just obvious. Right. we know it. We want you to say it because it's true.
Right.
So just say it, and they wouldn't say it. So I mean, it's glad to see other people speaking up on it, because it's more than just us kind of like political nerds that have done this now and been paid attention for a while, but just ask questions. It's actual people that live there now that are asking questions. I thought it was kind of strange when they would talk about building a playground there, but that playground was not inclusive to the rest of the people that live there. Right. And it was going to be a private playground, and I was like, well, man, look, it's a bunch of houses that are all very similar. And then you're going to take 29 of them and now tell the rest of the people, you can't take part in this part over here now.
Right.
So it just, I don't know. It seemed like a headache for one, but then it just, like you talk, it's not inclusive.
Yeah.
So that's the update on that. And it's a good time to tell you all to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We've gotten a decent amount of subscribers since we started.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting traction. I've been telling a couple people here and there about it, and people are telling and sharing this. So anytime you guys are able to share this podcast with other people, let them know about it. It only helps all of us. The more the more feedback we get, the more we actually feel like we're actually doing something. So if you enjoy these things, just try and help spread the word about it.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's interest that you have too in things in the township that you have no idea where to get the answers for, we've got a decent amount of resources. We can dig. Yeah. We can dig for answers. We've got quite a good group of people behind us that do research. Yeah,
if you go onto Facebook and you find the Restore GT Facebook page, go to our groups. There's a GT podcast group there, but there's plenty of ways to reach out to us. The emails below down here. You got the podcast group. You have the Restore GT website. There's a lot of ways you can reach out and ask us questions. Give us information. We're always looking for other information that we might not be privy to, that somebody is, maybe they got ticked off one day.
Yeah, the goal
said, hey,
here is to take something that is incredibly boring and try to at least make it a little more human, so that you folks can follow along. It doesn't all have to be criticizing the township, but if there's things you want to know, we can cover it. So reach out to us, Joe at RestoreGT.com, Keith at RestoreGT.com, and tell us what you want to hear. Go on, like you said, the Facebook group, the Facebook page. We have a Facebook group for the Restore GT podcast now. Throw some topic ideas in there. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And
we're hoping to do a live one coming up for you guys soon. We'll announce that. But
we are set up.
Get a couple other people in here and
we've got
give you guys a chance to
quite a bit of equipment here to start doing live, so we can do live chat while we're doing it. Yep. And this, of course, is being recorded on Saturday night. Gonna probably send it out tomorrow morning, Sunday afternoon, however long it takes to upload, and then eventually we will start doing these things live. So we will find a probably given time that we will do these things, hopefully live every other week.
Yeah.
Unless you all just have a lot of stuff that you want us to talk about.
I don't see that happening.
Then I can't. I don't know. We've got to wake up. We've got to wake up the 60,000 some people in Gloucester Township.
Let's wake up 20 more. And we're good.
Yeah, we can wake up 100 people. We're good to go. But
all right, guys.
The last thing that we more. Oh, you got to talk about warehouses, man.
Oh,
warehouses are a big thing here. There's not a big groundbreaking decision here on warehouses, other than it's just been taken off the agenda.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure. Did we do a podcast since the last time that when they had that special meeting the night of election night? I don't even know that we did.
We did. Well, yeah, because we did the election coverage. But
okay. But
basically, they put in some new guidelines. They took on the state guidelines for warehouses, but that didn't include the two warehouses that were currently already proposed.
Yeah, if the applications were already in before the adoption of the state's guidelines, then they don't affect them. Which the state guidelines didn't even come out until September or something. I don't remember the date of it, September 12th or somewhere around there. But the other applications at warehouses would not be affected by those, which would be requiring like 1,000-foot variance or 1,000-foot buffer between property lines and things like that. But since that has been taken off of the zoning board agenda, I don't even remember when that was. It was the end of October. It has not been put back on again, and they're not looking to put it back on again. We don't know that means it's gone forever. It's just it's not currently being pursued. Is all we know. Recently, there was a Sun article. I believe it was Sun or Patch or one of them.
Sicklerville Sun.
Yeah, they just ran an article about it, but it's not a victory lap for those that live in that area. That it's not. It hasn't. They didn't win. We'll say as far as stopping it completely. It's just been pulled off of the agenda currently.
I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing it everywhere now. Williamstown's fighting against warehouses. Mantua is now fighting against warehouses. Yeah. Warehouses are like the more stuff we order online, the more they need
warehouses. Yeah.
We need warehouses. So there's some areas that are great for it. Look, off 295, they're great spots for warehouses. But
if you're for farmland, then it's not great for warehouses, though.
Yes.
So progress is a tricky thing. It's you want to see things developed, and you think it's good somewhere else, but they might think it's not. This is we grow soy here or whatever it is. We have cattle.
I want warehouses everywhere but here.
Yeah.
So wherever I'm not. I say, hey, throw a warehouse in Williamstown. I don't care about Williamstown, but the people in Williamstown care about Williamstown. So it's
Yeah, it's funny.
You know?
I was actually driving down, going through Williamstown. I forget where the heck I was going, but there were literally signs, like yard signs, that were out, to stop some warehouse project that they had going on. So similar things, like you said, are happening in towns all around us, and people just need to stand up and fight for what they believe and what they want. That's what we're here doing, trying to help you do.
That's the thing too. Like you've got to. It's not you can't sit back and ever get comfortable. If you sit back and you get comfortable, you're gonna look out your back door and go, "What's that huge building being built right behind our house now?"
Yep.
It's gonna happen. So I mean, if look, this is your town, this is your community. You've got to be involved. I know you've got a lot of other things going on, but you've got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And you've got to do what people did when they found out that a warehouse was going to go in Sicklerville, on Sicklerville Road, that was going to put 1,500 trips a day.
Yeah. More
on
trucks on the road than there are minutes.
On a road that is already congested.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we've got to stay awake, and we've got to figure out when these things come in, and then we've got to find ways to talk about how we don't want it here, and put good reasons of why we don't want it here. Yeah. What to do about it, and to come together as a community. If it's a GoFundMe that pays for a lawyer, it's what you got to do until you get like-minded folks in office that say, no, we don't want that kind of stuff here.
People that represent you.
So, yes, once you have people in office that represent you, you don't need to do GoFundMes anymore because you already trust the people in office. So, man, if that's not a message to just pay attention and for next year, 4 council seats next year, I'm bothered that we haven't figured out what we're doing for next year yet. And I saw the Gloucester Township Republicans put a thing out that they're looking for candidates. They have some people that are expressed interest. But like I said on the last podcast, we gotta have like 4 great ones. Like 4 great ones that everybody likes. Or not, I mean, you're never gonna make everybody happy, but and if you're watching this and you think that if you're watching this and you wonder, maybe you could do that. Trust me, you could do that. You could
definitely do that. Yeah.
You could represent your neighbors. That's all you got to be. You just got to be a representative for your neighbors.
If your neighbors don't like something, that's what you vote for. You vote.
Your neighbors are all crazy. You might not. I don't know. Maybe. But if you just think, you know what, man, my neighbors and I, we all feel the same. I feel like I could go in there and just speak on their behalf. That's all it takes. Just do it. Reach out to them. Reach out to us too. If you want, if you're interested, we will pass your information along, and then hopefully by January we know who we're gonna vote for, who we got to vote for in next year.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to cover?
No, I mean, I think just along those lines of who's running. I just, like we were talking about, like voting for the message locally here in Gloucester Township, or any town if you're listening from another town for some reason, it needs to be about the people, about your neighbors, about local stuff. It's not any kind of there's no need for national politics to come into play when we're talking about local issues.
No,
you're voting on things that you're not voting on whatever the hot button topic of the moment is, nationally. You're voting on if there should be a warehouse in a golf course in residential area. You're voting on, should we be borrowing $4 million to pay for current expenses, or putting in a pickleball court and using money we already have. Like, those are the kind of things that you're voting on. It doesn't matter what party somebody is, but like you're saying, there's not the Republicans in the town are the opposition party to what is currently in place. So they shouldn't be viewed as bad because you don't believe that whatever Republican nationally that is a bad person or an orange man or whatever the case is, has nothing at all to do with what's happening here. If that person's going and then seeking office in another, a role where they are making decisions on a state level or something else, then don't vote for them then. But this is here, just in the worrying about the people. So I'm not running. I'm just saying, I would hope people that are running are running it for the right reasons for the town. And if people see that, I think they will vote for you no matter what party you are, because that's what, you know what I mean? What
I hope so,
somebody's
yeah.
running.
It was an intimidating thing back in 2019 when I feel
like I made no sense in what I just said.
No, you completely did. But it's when you start talking about politics are dirty, they're intimidating. And you talked about it, and I started thinking in 2019, like, wow, man, we've got to find a way to change things. And I really hope somebody good comes out. And in 2020, I said, you know what? I'm going to help. I'm going to help people find new people.
Right.
And then that turned into, I was intimidated in 2020 about the whole thing. But I said, look, I can give you guys a website, put restoregt.com on, and I'll give you guys a platform. If you guys want to talk about politics, start a campaign, whatever you want to do, I'll be your tech guy to do it. And then the more I learned about what it takes just to be a representative, I talked to my neighbors. My neighbors were all on the same page that I was. They all had the same views, and they're not all politically the same.
Right.
Because
the issues you're talking about are here. We're talking about the road being paved, not whatever
they all. And the funny thing was, they all have, and we talked about this a few hours ago. They all have the same plan. They're like, look, I'm just staying here for whatever till my kid's out of school or till my parents do this, and then I'm out of here because I can't afford to live here anymore. And I thought, well, man, why can't I just be a representative for those people? I want to keep those people here. I want them to stay here, and I can do that. I can represent them. I can take their views, and I can vote for things on their views. And then that's pretty much when I turned around and said, yeah, I'll be the candidate. Okay, I'll be the candidate.
Well, your point is a good one, though. Is even if you're not looking to run, if you just feel frustration or you feel perturbed by whatever it is that's going on, whatever the decision is, you might have a skill set that is lacking in the 12 people, like you said, that are actually out trying to do something. You might, I'm just using a random example. You might be a graphic designer or something that says, hey, I can put together whatever it is, like flyers that you guys can go hand out, or I can do that. You might be a screen printer. You can say, oh, hey, guess what, guys? I can do that. I'll do that for you at cost, or whatever. Whatever is a skill set that you have something unique to yourself. You're a huge asset, whether you know it or not. You just need to speak up and get involved. Even if it's just...
There are people, like I hated door knocking, man. I hated it. Because it was an entire summer.
What is it, door knocking?
Door knocking. Just knocking on doors and saying, hi, I'm Joe. I'm running for council. Here's my thing. Get the door slammed on me. Some people hated me. They didn't even care. They just were like, you knocked on my door. I hate you automatically. And I was like, look, one of the first things I would say, like, I'm not selling you solar. I'm running for council. And then... That took away half the haters, but then the rest of them. But there are people out there. There are people out there. They're just like,
they love knocking on doors.
Give me a stack of stuff, man. I'll go hang these things on doors. So it's great. You go up. Somebody wants to go hang door knockers. You don't have to talk to anybody. You just go up. You hang a little thing on somebody's door. You move on. There's people who just want to do that. They just want to go out and walk.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's something. There's a need for whatever it is your skill set is, even if it's mowing the lawn is a skill set. We'll figure out something that you can do with mowing people's lawns or something, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just, there's always something that you can contribute, and you're better than everybody else at it, because everyone's a unique person. Everybody has different skills.
When's the Republican ugly sweater thing?
Oh, I don't know.
Was that the first? Is that the first of... There's I'm trying to think, like this, it's a good time.
The first, yeah. It looks
like
the
first. All right,
well, yeah. Because it's the first Thursday of the month. The
first Thursday of the month.
The first
would be
next week.
I'm trying to think. Somebody texted me with
Somebody's going to kill you for not knowing what it is.
somebody's going to be like, man, I sent that invite to you, and now you don't know what it is. So, man, I feel like, yeah, I failed.
Yep.
I failed to spread their message, but
it's December 1st, I believe.
December 1st. Gloucester Township Republicans on Facebook, gtrepublicans.com. There is, they're going to do, it's like an ugly sweater. They meet every month. They meet the first Thursday of every month at Valari's. It's like
It's
show
not
up.
a political thing. It's just
It's
a
not
gathering.
It's not a meeting. It's just like, you go there, you talk to people.
We
We've
have a
talked to people.
5-minute conversation. Go up, meet Joe. He'd
Yeah.
love to talk to you.
I'll be there. It's,
Me, not so much. I don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you.
But
Yeah, just get to know other people that are in town. You might see them in the grocery store or something.
I've been to almost every one of them. I've met quite a few people that from many political parties that it's not just a Republican thing. They come out, they hang out, and they talk about what's important to them. And there's people there that'll listen, and that way when they ultimately decide who's going to run for next year, they've got ideas on what's what the topics are and what kind of people they want. So grab an ugly sweater on Thursday, December 1st.
Everybody's got one in their drawer.
Valari's. I don't have sweaters at all.
No?
Like, straight up no sweaters.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Everybody does. Everyone but me, and now you, didn't have one. I actually got one as a present last year for Christmas, so I haven't worn it yet. But
I
now own an ugly sweater.
I probably haven't had a sweater since like the 4th grade. So
well, mine's a sweatshirt that's printed to look like it's a sweater.
I thought about getting little ones with like Cardis and Mayor on it.
There you go.
I think a great thing I just show up with. But
check out the Restore GT store online.
Yeah.
We're selling costumes,
coming next
ugly
week.
sweaters. Great idea, Joe.
So
we can get some money for some more equipment.
I'm gonna sell some sweatshirts so I can cover my bar bill for that night. So yeah, Thursday, December 1st.
December 1st.
Ugly sweaters with the Republicans over at Valari's.
Even if you don't have one, just come.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a sweater. I don't have a sweater, but I will. I'll be there, and we gotta start talking about candidates for 2023. I want to be a big part of figuring out who they're going to run, and that way we don't screw it up like we did last year.
Yeah, running two different. Well,
yes,
we were not going to get into that. Come out. We'll see you Thursday, guys.
Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. RestoreGT.com, at RestoreGT on Twitter, Restore Gloucester Township on Facebook, Restore GT Podcast
Find the
on
links
Facebook.
on our site somewhere.
We're everywhere. Just go to RestoreGT.com. All the links are there. See you guys in a few days. We got a council meeting on Monday.
Oh, and our last thing, we are of sound mind. We are not going to suicide ourselves.
We did talk about the Norcrosses, so we don't. Yeah,
we put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Christmas this year. My birthday's next weekend. I want to live that long.
Yep.
I want to see New Year's.
My opinions are also those of mine only, and not of any position I have been elected to.
Getting ready to queue up the school board disclaimer above his head too. So,
all right,
folks.
See you guys.
See you guys.